Hello everyone and welcome to this webinar. So my name is Katia Malnati and I am the Communication Officer at Rakuten Aquafadas. And today I'm with Andreas Pfeiffer, Technology Expert, and Stefan Deras, our Pre-Sales Director. So I'm just aware that some of you may run a bit late, so if it's fine with everyone, we are just going to wait a few minutes before we start. Thank you. Okay, so I think now that we've got a bit more of people in the room. So during this webinar, Andres will present the result of our latest report around mobile content strategy. So the name is Optimizing Digital Content Creation in the Enterprise, Creative Excellence and Automation. And Stefan will present our innovative solution and reply to your technical questions. So just for information, this webinar will last about 45 minutes, and we will share the slides and the video in a follow-up email. So if you have any question during the webinar, please feel free to ask them via the box question on the GoToWebinar function. Andreas and Stefan will reply to your question at the end of the presentation. Thank you, and I let the speech to Andreas.
Good afternoon. Thanks for joining us. So I'd like to introduce myself a little bit. My name is Andreas Pfeiffer. I'm the head of Pfeiffer Consulting. We've been doing research and consulting for both technology companies and media groups for the past 15 years. Before that, I was in the trenches, so to speak. I was editorial director for Computer Magazine for 10 years. So I have a bit of experience with content production, and I've been following what's going on now for a long time. So, sorry about that. So, as Katia mentioned, this webinar is based on a report we produced for Aquafadas, analyzing key trends in content production and in the enterprise. And there's a lot going on. As you know, the iPhone has been launched 10 years ago exactly, and has led to a transformation in the enterprise that was completely unprecedented and unexpected. So basically, mobile devices have completely changed what we do, how we do it, what we expect from what we expect as users and what we expect as managers. Gartner predicts that by 2018, 70% of mobile professionals will work on personal mobile devices. So the BYOD, bring your own device trend, is very strongly established despite concerns about security. It is just something that is happening. There's something interesting too in the enterprise. While in the consumer space, mobile devices are mostly smartphones, and with an increasing proportion of them large screen devices, tablets. In the enterprise, tablets are very, very important, and that's very important for our subject here, because they have a use that is absolutely vital if you're a mobile professional. And there's many things you can do on a tablet you cannot do on a smartphone, not as efficiently. So BYOD is here to stay. There's no doubt about that. And enterprises generally agree that it improves employee mobility, but on the other hand, it creates a lot of problems. Because once you have a smartphone or a tablet, the whole question is, what do you have access to? Before, when you have a salesperson on the road, they would walk around with a little suitcase and have the printouts and documents that they wanted to leave behind. Now all this is happening on a mobile device in many cases, and can lead to a lot of problems. Many companies report that out-of-date documents are a real problem. There's another problem that we'll talk about a bit more, is not having online access when you use your device. But anyway, BYOD is here to stay. What that means for enterprises is that the majority of them have realized that it has become vital to adopt a mobile app platform. That in itself is a complicated issue as well, because if you take app development as something that is code-based, not every company can afford to have a development department. Not every company has the need for staff in-house. Yet it is very important to be able to do this app development in-house to stay to stay competitive. So by now, over 70% of enterprises invest in mobile apps, according to Gartner again. And it's clear that it increases productivity and improves customer service, but it also creates a huge amount of problems that were completely unasked for, and that really changed the way IT in companies has to manage the devices. In many cases, for instance, you have companies that early on spotted the trend of smartphones and tablets. May I remind you that the iPad was the fastest device to gain widespread customer acceptation. So while tablets have slowed down a bit in the consumer space, they are very, very prevalent still in the enterprise and will stay so. But the problem is, once you have developed an app, you have to not only deploy it, you have to market it, you have to maintain it, you have to update it. If there's one thing certain in computers, is that there will be a next version of whatever you're using, and doing that is an unbelievable burden in terms of of cost, in terms of maintenance, in terms of many things. I mean, just having to resubmit an app to the app stores of Apple and Google can be a complicated process. And so, but nothing is worse than having an app that was once wonderful but hasn't been updated, and now you're stuck with something that cannot provide the right documents at the right time, or something like that. So it's a mixed blessing, let's say, this whole mobile app business. We'll get into the bottlenecks a bit later on. So while the vast majority of enterprises want an internal app, it's become clear to many of them that it's complicated to do so, and we'll talk about this in a moment. A well-designed, efficient app can do wonders for your competitivity and for your efficiency. If you, I invite you to go to the Aquafadas website and look at the success stories. There's some very impressive ones there. On the other hand, choosing the right platform is a headache. So what are the problems that we notice when we look at data management in the enterprise? There's a whole lot of them. The whole development process is a complicated one, in the sense that it requires enterprises to do something they are not really equipped and used to doing, and that is collecting and analyzing how people work and how you can optimize the way people work. It has to do with gathering and using analytic intelligence from the mobile apps. It's also something that people want, but don't know how to go about. And even if you have the data, you need to know how to use it. And it introduces a lot of new problems and bottlenecks. And one of the very, very important points I want to stress here is to have something which is easily updated is absolutely vital. If there's one thing we have learned, and we'll get back to that a bit later, well, one thing we've learned over the years is that what we first think the right way of using an app or a program is usually not the best way, and is usually it becomes outdated very quickly. The version 1.0 of anything is crap, if you want to paraphrase a famous quote about writing literature. So the problem is really how do you do that, and what does it mean to remain competitive? And that includes obviously remaining in-house in your efforts of development. In-house development is absolutely vital. And that means what the enterprise need is code-free app development. Writing code is expensive, will always be expensive. It can be optimized to some extent, but writing code is just complex. Last but not least, because it is becoming increasingly difficult to find good coders, because there aren't that many around, and there's a huge demand in the market for good coders. And as I said, creating apps in-house is vital, and creating digital content is vital. And this is where we hit another roadblock. The problem with content in the enterprise is that not only do you have to deliver it to a great variety of platforms, but also you need to deal with a great complexity. Now, about the platforms, no, you don't need to look very far to realize that having something that works on Windows, Mac OS, iOS, Android, Chrome OS, Watch OS, and a few more is complicated. If you have to do it by hand, if you have to take your Mac app and then make it run on Windows, and your Android app make it run on iOS, and then adapt it for Watch OS manually, you'll probably won't be able to do it, which means that you'll have to sort of pick and choose what it is you support. But that's not the only problem linked to platforms. Platforms are in itself a variety, and then you have all the legacy versions. Now, on some platforms like iOS, it's less of a problem, since Apple has been very good at motivating users to adopt the latest version. They quote figures like 80% of adoption of the latest release. On Android, the situation is completely different. People usually don't update their Android device. So it means that your app needs to deal with the limitations of a version of Android that is perhaps 5 years old or more. And that can be a real headache. But the platforms are only one part. The interesting part and the painful part about producing content is that if you look at professional content producers, media companies, they produce very complex, very sophisticated content, but in a very organized and very clearly managed way. So you have your web development environment, you have your design environment, but that's it, and on video perhaps. In the enterprise, the picture is much, much more complicated, because you have all sorts of things that float around and are very vital for people who produce the app. You have Office documents, Excel spreadsheets, Word documents, PDF documents, text files, pictures, video, structured data that needs to be processed. And it's expected that all this is processed in an automated way because manually it's just impossible. I mean, that's why there are so many content management systems and enterprise document management systems around. The problem, however, if you talk about automation, is that you lose creative control. So you can go the route of saying, I'll have everything automated. That's very nice, and it works when it's well organized. It can work very well, but adaptation and creative control can be an issue. Now, if what you're dealing with is price lists and document fact sheets, it's perhaps not so much of a problem. If, on the other hand, you're dealing with documents which have been created by the design studio or the web or the marketing agency, basically all the document an enterprise uses to promote and to create the corporate image, that can be very difficult. Because as you can see, I won't go into detail here, but in the report we created, we'd have a table of that. Following a corporate style guide in an app can be very, very challenging. So it's basically always this painful choice between automation and creative control. And that's where a solution like Aquafadas comes in as, and offers some interesting approaches. So the real question, therefore, is also how do you reduce the cost of creating an app development? The figure you can see on this slide comes from a website that has sourced, I think, 16 different motors for evaluating app development costs. And that's the average of 16 different methods for app development. So obviously, we need to take this with a grain of salt, because these are the figures for code-based app development. But in that context, you have this sort of death spiral of cost that you can't escape. You have the designer who designs the visual aspects, and then it goes to the UX designer who implements and writes the specification for the coder, and then the coder writes the code, sends the thing back, it needs to be tested, changes are implemented, it goes back to the UX designer, back to the coder, and so forth. So, and each one of these round trips costs a lot of money and time, and is very time consuming. That's one of the really important parts. Quite apart from the cost, it's the reason why developing an app is considered to take at least 3 to 6 months on average. And many enterprises, that is way too long. You can't stay competitive if you need something like that, and you can't maintain and update an app on that sort of development cycle. So what's the solution? The solution is obviously simplification, and that means no coding. And on that level, if you Google code-free app development, you'll find dozens, if not hundreds, of sites, apps, environments that offer you code-free app development. The problem here, however, is that usually it's hard to combine ease of use with sophistication and creative control. And that's really where the Aquafadas solution, in my view, stands out, because it combines basically things. It can go anywhere, sorry, from taking an InDesign document, adding very sophisticated creative controls, interactivity for a handcrafted app that does not require any coding and can just be managed by the designer and updated by the designer, in some cases even updated without the app itself needing to be updated. And it goes all the way to automated content delivery of structured content, or automated conversion of PDF documents into interactive ones, and so forth. But I personally, I'm not an expert on the different technical aspects of the Aquafadas system, so I'm going to hand it over now to Stefan, who will give you a quick explanation of how it all works. Thank you very much. Thanks for your attention.
Thanks a lot, Andreas, for your presentation. So that will be quick on my side, because I prefer that we focus on the results of your analysis and white paper. But I wanted to give you a quick snapshot of our solution at Aquafadas, so that you understand how we can solve some or many of the issues that that Andreas has been raising during his speech. So if you look at our solution, we develop software mainly to help you to create and manage your digital content. So first of all, the capability to bring your legacy content to mobile devices as well as desktop computers and web browsers for sure, because we give you several capabilities and several ways to transform or create your content and then store it, manage it before delivering it to multiple channels. And for sure, which is very important for you, which is a capability to analyze and track back the usage of your content and your apps. So all of that is part of our solution. We have several ways to achieve that. Again, all these different ways will depend on how you want to set it up at your end, because you have different ways to achieve your targets as well. And this is why to be more efficient, I will switch to our website, because this way you can also come back to our website after this webinar. And if you look at the homepage of aquafadas.com, you have a tools tab there, which I'm going to use to explain you very briefly all the different kind of solutions we can bring to you. So we divided the main workflow to bring you to a digital and mobile world into 3 or 4 main steps. The first one is creation or ingestion of your content. The second one is about the vehicles to disseminate and consume your content, which are mainly the apps or web browsers and web readers. And finally, the third step, which is about the engagement of your consumers or customers or readers, by giving you the capability to track in a very granular way how your consumers are simply reading your content. So the very first step, which is about creating or reusing your legacy content, but creating digital content, we have 2 main ways to create that content in a manual way, let's say. The very first one, which is option 1 that you see on the screen, which is convert to digital, will be using our cloud offering website, where you can upload your PDF, and then it will transform that PDF into either our own format, because we have our proprietary digital format, simply in order to secure your content when it comes to mobile dissemination, as well as also giving you a lot of enrichment capabilities. And due to the fact that HTML5 is still quite recent and still cannot comply with all the kinds of enrichment we provide, this is why in that case, for some native app, we still provide our proprietary format. But for most of the other stuff, we provide for sure an HTML5 web reader output. So this is the first part where you can really easily upload your content and transform it to digital and finally disseminate it to mobile apps as well as web readers. The second aspect is about creating, like Andreas introduced during his speech, is a capability for you to create very rich, enriched, interactive, engaging content with Adobe InDesign, which is, as you know, the main desktop publishing tool on the planet today. And this tool will be the same that your graphic designers or agencies are using to help you build your brochures, publications, but they can use it with our plugin to design a brand new interactive version or digital version of your content. In that case, we speak of pixel perfect solution, because you will have to design a template which fits with an orientation of your device as well as a ratio for the screen. We will see later that we have solutions for HTML5 responsive web output as well. Then we also bring to you, which is very important for you to understand, the capability to automate the creation of that digital content or ingestion of that content as PDF to our web front end. So for that purpose, we provide 2 different workflow automation automation engines, one which will be based on your PDF, the other one which will be based on your structured content, because we have a capability to ingest the content coming from your content management system, from your web content management system, for instance, and transform it to a digital version, HTML5, for instance, but produce it and disseminate it again to our mobile apps. We have all the native apps needed for you to build, to be customized for your own purpose. And we can either mix your structured content, which is, sorry for the technical term, but XML driven. We can mix it with either InDesign templates if you want a very rich layout, but we can also mix it with HTML5 responsive web templates. And in that case, as you know, with responsive aspects, it will adapt automatically to any screen size and ratio and orientation. So it's really a question of you defining which your priorities are and which aspect you want for your content when it will be consumed on mobile devices, for instance. Once you created your content, either manually or in an automated way, as you could see, then it comes to the vehicles to disseminate your content. So we provide you with tools which helps you to generate native apps for iOS, Android, but also now for Windows and Mac OS X, as well as a web kiosk if you want just a pure web output, or you can combine any of them together with our multi-channel capabilities. And you can really customize your app when you create it and submit it to the stores. That could be also used for in-house enterprise apps the same way. And through our new next-gen applications, so next-gen apps, as we call them, you have a capability which is very innovative to modify the storefront of your app in a question of minutes live on our website, because we provide you with another web front end for that purpose. And you can change any of the visual graphic materials. You can change hyperlinks, you can change banners within that storefront, again, which is hosted inside the app. So you can really change the navigation, but also you can promote any content you want at any time. For instance, for any event you would be organizing in a few days, you could promote that event by just adding a banner at the top of your app, and that will be immediately available to all your app users without recompiling and resubmitting the app to Apple or Google for public stores, which is, as you can imagine, a big time to market advantage. And you can distribute it to any device. You understood that. It works for mobiles, but also tablets. It works for tablet PCs. It works for PCs and Mac desktop computers as well, and for sure with web browsers. Regarding now the engagement, we provide you with all the main mechanisms to track the usage of your content, digital content and digital apps and mobile apps. We provide you with Google Analytics, Localytics, Pweek Analytics within our solutions. We also give you, as you understood, a way to change your storefront at any time by promoting any content or doing any advertising within your app through this web front end. You can also be in touch real time with all your consumer base or let's say app users because we provide you with push notifications. Naturally, we provide with a standard mechanism to enable in-app purchase and in-app subscription within the apps. And last but not the least, if you don't want to take our apps and content as is, you can also integrate that within your own information system, because we provide you with also software development kits. We also have a full brain of APIs to get access to our systems, to our back office systems, so that you can integrate very smoothly your our technologies within your websites, intranet and extranet websites. We provide it as a SaaS solution, online solution to start with, but you can also ask for an on-premise version of our tools. And we can also host your content or you can choose to host it yourself. You have a full choice within that. So again, I don't want to spend too much time on detailing our solution. You understand we have several ways to achieve and get you to digital content and mobile apps, as well as web readers and web kiosk. But the best for you is to dig into these solutions, because for each of them, you have much more details when you get to the page after. And I'm glad now to answer any of your questions, because you probably have some questions for Andreas or ourselves. So we are ready to handle any of your questions. Thank you for listening to us.
So at the moment there is no question, but I'm sure like some of you may have some. So maybe we can wait some minutes about it.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, so again, as Katia was saying, and Andreas as well at the beginning, if you go to our website, Aquafellas website, aquafellas.com, you can read the report. At the homepage, you have a banner for that. You click on it, and then you can simply give your first name, last name, and company and an email address, and you will be receiving the full detailed report from Andreas Pfeiffer. So you can easily get it in addition to the slides and the video recording that you will get access to after this webinar. So you can again find a lot of details on our website. Naturally, we are more than happy to answer any direct questions. So you can give us a call. We have 2 offices, one in Paris and one in Montpellier, all of them in France, but we are part of Rakuten Group. So we have a worldwide presence now. So we can really help you wherever you want. We have also a network of partners when it comes to your local countries. So please don't hesitate to contact us through our website, and we'll be glad to be in touch with all of you to give you more details. So it looks like we don't have any questions, so we could say that it was clear enough.
Exactly.
Thank you, Andreas. That seems to be the case. So we can wait 2 more minutes. If no one has any question, we will leave you and wish you a very good day. And thank you for again attending our webinar.
And thank you for your attention and for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.